Welcome to the Making of Me podcast, where we explore the experience and decision that shape who we have become. Our today's guest is Greg Bennick, an international keynote speaker, author, and thought leader focused on helping people eliminate distractions, build deeper focus, and live more meaningful and intentional life. Through decades of speaking, storytelling, and humanitarian service, Greg has dedicated his life to helping individual and organization reclaim attention, strengthen connection, and rediscover purpose in a highly distracted world. It's really a pleasure having you on the show,
Hey,
Greg.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it. This is going to be
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Thank you so much, Greg. So, Greg, can you take us back to the your earlier moments in your life where you first made which what first made you to become a deeply interested in focus, meaning, and human connection?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not, we live in a very distracted world. At every turn, there are distractions from the media, from social media, from strangers, from friends, from family. And it's really hard to maintain focus. And it is for me, too. I know that growing up, I didn't realize that I had ADHD. And when I was an adult and was finally diagnosed with it, I had friends say, "Really? We knew that all along. How come you didn't know?" So I realized much later in life that distractions for me are part of my world. Well, I think they're part of everybody's world. And I think that distractions do two things. They're meant to take us away from what is most important for us so that we buy what's most important for other people. And they're also meant to sort of keep us not focused on what's most meaningful for us. Because when people are empowered, they can be threatening. When people are empowered, they can be inspired and do incredible things. And I think the distractions all around us are easy ways to placate people and keep them feeling subdued, if that makes sense. But more than anything else, we see advertisements more than anything. And those advertisements are literally meant to take your and my focus and put it somewhere else so that we buy that thing. And I just think that we can do better than all of that. I think that we can reclaim this moment so that we can focus on the things that are most meaningful for us.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, this really speaks volumes. Also, you have spent decades speaking and performing on global stage. How did that journey begin for you?
So the journey for that is pretty funny, actually. I wanted to be, from a very early age, a coin collector. And when I was in school, my school offered classes for 1 hour a week after school in various different things. You could study gymnastics or exercise or athletics. You could study art. You could study science for like an extra hour every week. Well, I wanted there to be a class in coin collecting. And the school told me that if I found somebody to teach it, they would add that class to the classes that were offered. So I found somebody to teach the class. The school put that class in the list of classes. And then the students had to sign up for what class they wanted. And I signed up for that coin collecting class. And the school secretary made a mistake and signed me up for a juggling class instead. And yeah, so I didn't get to take the coin collecting class, although I got to poke my head in there. But I was signed up for a juggling class by mistake. And when I signed up for that juggling class and walked in on the first day, I thought, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was like, I couldn't believe it. It was so fun and so exciting. And it was like exercise mixed with performing, mixed with fun. And I started performing shows just a couple months afterwards. I was only a kid. So the performing for me has been a lifelong journey that started when I was very young. And I've always been on stages around the world. And that's how it's come to be.
Yeah, amazing. This is really lovely. Being that what you always thought coin collector was not the real thing you actually wanted to, and by mistake you actually stumbled into jogging.
Totally,
Then you
totally
come
by
to love
mistake.
it, and yeah,
Yep, totally by
lovely.
mistake. Yep.
Yeah. So, in your experience, why do so many people struggle to stay focused when they truly want to?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we're afraid sometimes of what might happen if we do focus. Meaning, what does it mean if I decide to focus completely on the thing that's most meaningful to me? What if I fail at that thing? It's easier to take a step back and get distracted by this and distracted by that and distracted by this and not focus on the thing that's right in front of me. It's easier to do that psychologically than it is to say, wow, what if I take a risk and go after the thing that I really want? Going after the thing we really want is sometimes really challenging and scary. Might be too expensive, might be overwhelming, might be intimidating. But I think the more that we try to stay focused on the things that are most meaningful to us, the happier that we'll be. But
Mm,
it's intimidating. There's a chapter in my book called Leap into the Dark, which is really about take a leap into the dark because we might succeed and it might go okay if we do succeed. We often fear failure. Oh, I don't want to try that. What if I fail? But I think too, we often fear success. Like, what happens if I succeed at this? Then where will I be? Then what happens? And that's a great question. That's one that I think we can all strive to answer a bit more often than quitting before we even try in the first place.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. When we get to kind of focus, yeah, definitely a whole lot of success come into being or into that. Yeah, stepping into the dark. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, what personal experience shape your belief that people are deeply driven by the need to feel significant?
Oh, that's great. Well, I studied the work of a cultural anthropologist named Ernest Becker. And Ernest Becker wrote a book called The Denial of Death. And in The Denial of Death, and a follow up book to that one, he talked about the importance of meaning. And he had talked about it in an earlier book too, called The Birth and Death of Meaning. And he talked about the importance of meaning and why it's significant that people feel as though that they matter. You know, you and I are doing this podcast episode. After the episode, I'll go do other work. You'll go back to your family, do other work, whatever it might be. We have to be involved in things that are meaningful for us so that we don't feel as though our time on this planet was useless or wasted or insignificant. And Becker wrote about this, and I've thought a lot about it over the last few decades too, that we really need to feel as though we are valuable contributors to a meaningful world. We need to feel as though what we do is meaningful and what we do matters. And when we feel that, it's psychologically uplifting for us. It allows us to engage more. If I didn't believe in the things I was saying, you and I would be disconnected.
Yeah,
If you didn't believe in interviewing guests, this conversation would be a pile of garbage. Instead, because we feel as though this is meaningful, we have a stronger connection with one another. And that's true for teams too. When teams come together, they come together and do their most effective work when they feel as though what they're doing matters. So we have to feel as though we matter. It's essential. And it's essential to our well-being and our psychology, and also how effective we are at the work we do and the things we do with one another and for one another.
amazing. The feeling of significance is what connects us together. It was made us show off, and it's what made us chase each and everything that, yeah, towards achieving a particular desired purpose. Yeah, it's really amazing. You make reference of it, just make me rethink a whole lot of stuff that, it's really more like what actually drives us and drive humanity
No, yeah,
towards what.
I think it is what drives us. I think it's that quest for meaning, that quest for feeling significant, for feeling as though we matter. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. Thanks for sharing. So, how
Sure.
did your perspective on success and purpose evolve over time?
Well, it's interesting. My feelings about success have changed over time. Years past, I thought success meant making money. And I thought success meant followers on the internet. And it doesn't, and it doesn't. Success, in my opinion, is a feeling of satisfaction because at the end of the day, let's say it's 30 or 40 years from now, I would hope that you and I feel satisfied with what we've created and satisfied with what we've done rather than comparing how big our bank accounts are. And yes, we need money to survive. Yes, we need to be able to buy food and we need to be able to provide for our families. But at the end of the day, the money isn't success. The success comes from within, the feeling of satisfaction that you've accomplished something meaningful. And again, it goes back to that sense of meaning. If we feel as though we've accomplished something meaningful and that we've created something of value, that's going to make us feel successful, even if we didn't become billionaires as a result. And one of the things that is astounding to me is that we put so much emphasis in our culture on wanting to be billionaires and wanting to be millionaires and wanting to be rich with the yacht and the mansion and
Yeah,
the helicopter. And at the end of the day, if I had a yacht, mansion, and helicopter, it would be fun. I would invite you over and you could play in those places with me. But I don't think that makes me successful other than by some odd societal standard that dictates that the amount of money we have is equivalent to the amount of success that we have. I think that my perspectives now on success are more rooted in how good am I to other people? How helpful am I? How
mm.
supportive am I to other people? And how do I contribute to the world in a meaningful way?
How do I contribute to the world in a meaningful way? And how do I make others? How do they see me? How do I make things better? Wow, that's really lovely perspective compared to chasing goals and aspiration that doesn't add anything to the world and to the people you are serving. Wow, this is really lovely. Thanks for sharing. So, what role has humor, creativities, and performance play in your communication, in how you communicate your messages?
Well, it's interesting. I'm always in performance when I'm on stage. There was a man named Peter Brook. He wrote a book called The Empty Space many years ago in the United States, or maybe he was in England. Regardless, he wrote a book, and in this book he talked about if we have four walls basically at a stage, if we have even four walls, if we have a space and somebody gets up and does something and somebody else watches, we are now in performance. This is theater, this is a stage. So I'm always in performance, even now in this moment, but also when I'm on stages, literally speaking, I'm always utilizing my juggling skills that I still use, or magic skills, or performance skills, just for entertainment's sake. So I entertain audiences with performance rather than just speaking to them. Because if I just spoke to them, it would be interesting, but I like keeping people laughing and engaged because I think it's really important for an audience to enjoy what they're watching and to be engaged with what they're watching and
Yeah.
to feel involvement with it. So I'm always involved with performing for my
Yeah.
audiences and making sure they're entertained.
Yeah, I think this is really lovely too because at the end of the day, when they leave the speaking event or the engagement, most times no one remember what is being said, but they remember how you made them feel. Yeah, it's amazing. So looking back, what were some turning points that shaped the direction of your work and mission?
Yeah, I would say a turning point was being introduced to the work of Ernest Becker, certainly. I think a turning point was being introduced to the work of a group called the Situationist International. They were in France in the 1960s, and one of their writers was a guy named Guy Debord. And Debord wrote a book called The Society of the Spectacle. And in this book, he talked about how the world around us is a spectacle of images and advertisements and graphics. And we often feel as though we are living through those images. I see somebody having an adventure and, oh, I feel adventurous. I see an image on a billboard of somebody being in love and it makes me feel as though I'm in love. We live by way of the images around us rather than living our own lives. So the
Mm.
spectacle consumes us. And when I heard about the society of the spectacle as an idea, it really changed me because I think that's true. I think we do. And I think that the more we live our own lives and support people who are real and right in front of us rather than engaging only via the spectacle, we do better. But that was a turning point for
Oh,
me. Yeah,
wow,
for
this is
sure.
really lovely. It simply means when we reduce or tone down the rate at which we consume content and turn down a whole lot of stuff, we get to live, our authentic self the more compared to, really as a reflection of those
Yeah.
things we get to see.
That's right, because the spectacle is always going to be there, And think about this: Guy Debord was writing in 1968, so he was writing in 1968 about advertisements and billboards on the highway. What would he think about TikTok, Instagram Reels,
Mm,
Facebook, social media, X? It's like there's a lot more to distract us now, certainly.
yeah, so true, so true. Also, your book, Reclaim the Moment, focuses on building a better now. What does that actually mean in practical terms?
Yeah, so in the moment we can get so distracted that we lose sight of what's in front of us. So let's build a better now. Let's build this moment better. Let's build this interaction better. Let's build our relationships better. Let's build our own happiness better, our own focus better, our own satisfaction better. It's about in this moment not being swept up and losing sight of
Yeah.
ourselves in the midst of the spectacle. So that's really what the book is about. It's about finding focus and finding meaning in this moment rather than losing that focus in the midst of a world which would love to distract us and take our focus away.
Finding focus in these moments other than lost in distractions. Yeah, amazing. So lastly, what are some simple but powerful strategy people can use to reduce distraction in their everyday life?
I would say number one, and I'm not anti phone, I'm not anti technology, but turn your phone off and get away from it for a little while.
Ooh.
If your phone's always in your hand, turn it off for an hour and see what happens. Go outside and go for a walk. Instead of staring at a glowing rectangle, get outside where there's actual light coming from the sun.
Mm,
That's really important. I think make connections with people that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while. Reconnect with people. Reconnect and just check in and say hi with people. Build your community, build your network of people, and stay away just for a little while from the news, from the media, from the spectacle, because it will always consume us. That's what it's for. The spectacle is for the consuming of human minds and human aspirations. We need to avoid that every once in a while. And this doesn't mean throw your phone in the garbage can. It doesn't mean flush your computer, down the toilet. It means literally take some time. take some time and be present without the spectacle. Just look at a tree for a few minutes. Reconnect with somebody and have a conversation. Reconnect with the team around you and make sure you're all on the same page. And do that without social media asking you to do it, fitting you into its algorithm so that it sends you on this or that or this or that path. Find your own path. Create your own path. Like your life depends on it, because it does.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, shut down a whole lot of stuff. Tone down the rate that you eat, you use it. Yeah, and just go out there and actually feed your eyes. Yeah, this has really been amazing. So, Greg Bennick, for my audience who would love to connect with you and in respect of your book, whether for coaching sections or for any other enlightenment at all, how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
Yeah, people can find me through my website, of course, gregbennick.com. Same on LinkedIn. Greg, GregBennick on LinkedIn. That's an easy way to get in touch, and people can always reach me through either of those, and I'm always happy to answer questions anytime. Of course, I'm also on Instagram and all the social media too, but the point is my website and LinkedIn are easy ways to reach me, and those are ways which, if everyone writes to one place, then it keeps that glowing rectangle in my hand out of my hand
Yeah,
more often, which is
yeah,
a plus.
yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Greg. This is a powerful
Thank you.
reminder that attention is one of the most vulnerable resources we have, and how we use it shape the quality of life we live. The journey just shows that learning to reclaim focus, we don't just become more productive, we become more present, more connected, and more alive to meanings in each moment. Yeah, it's really amazing having you on the show.
Thank you very
Great.
much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.